The dust swirled around Deborah's sandals, the fine powder of Ephraim clinging to the hem of her worn linen robe. Above, the relentless sun beat down on the palm of Deborah, its ancient fronds offering meager shade against the iron-tinged sky. Below, a sea of faces, etched with worry and hardship, looked up at her. They were farmers, shepherds, potters, the backbone of Israel, now bent double under the yoke of Jabin, king of Hazor. This was not a time of kings in Israel. It was a time of judges, charismatic leaders raised up by the unseen God to deliver his people. But the chariot wheels of Hazor echoed through the valleys, and fear was a constant companion. And she, Deborah, a woman, was their judge. Her voice, surprisingly resonant for her slender frame, cut through the oppressive heat. "Brothers, sisters," she began, her gaze sweeping across the assembly. "I see the despair in your eyes, the weariness in your hearts. You till the land, but Jabin reaps the harvest. You raise your flocks, but Sisera's army devours them. You pray to Adonai, but your prayers seem to vanish in the smoke of oppression." A murmur rippled through the crowd. They knew her words were true. For 20 long years, Hazor had held them in its iron grip. "But I tell you now," Deborah continued, her voice rising with conviction, "Adonai has not forgotten you. He has heard your cries. He sees your suffering. He will deliver you from the hand of Jabin." Hope flickered in their eyes, a fragile flame in the face of overwhelming darkness. They had heard Deborah speak before. Her judgments were just, her wisdom profound. But more than that, they sensed a power within her, a connection to the divine that resonated deep in their souls. "This is what Adonai commands," she declared, her voice ringing with authority. "He has chosen Barak, son of Abinoam, from Kedesh in Naphtali. He is to gather 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun and lead them to Mount Tabor. Adonai will draw Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops, to the Wadi Kishon, and he will deliver him into Barak's hand." A gasp rippled through the crowd. Sisera! The name alone was enough to inspire terror. He was a brutal warrior, renowned for his ruthlessness and the devastating power of his iron chariots. Fear warred with hope in the faces before her. Could they, an untrained, poorly armed militia, stand against the might of Hazor's army? Then a voice, clear and strong, rose from the crowd. "We will follow you, Deborah. We will follow Barak." It was a farmer, his hands calloused and worn, but his eyes blazing with newfound determination. Others echoed his sentiment, their voices growing in strength and volume, until the air thrummed with a collective roar of defiance. Deborah felt a surge of hope. Adonai was moving in their hearts. But then she remembered a word whispered to her in a dream, a prophecy that both encouraged and troubled her. The glory of this victory will not go to Barak. The glory will go to a woman. The thought weighed heavily on her. She did not seek glory, only the deliverance of her people. But she knew Adonai's ways were often mysterious, his plans beyond human understanding. The rhythm of life in Israel was a familiar one, a cycle repeated through generations. After the death of a judge who had brought peace and prosperity, a period of ease would inevitably follow. The people, lulled into complacency, would begin to drift, forgetting the commandments of Adonai, the God who had delivered them from slavery in Egypt. This drift always led to the same place, Baal and Asherah. The temptation was understandable, especially for an agrarian people dependent on the vagaries of weather for their survival. Adonai was a jealous God, demanding exclusive worship. Baal, on the other hand, was the Canaanite god of rain and fertility. His consort, Asherah, was the goddess of motherhood and abundance. They offered a tangible promise of plentiful harvests and healthy flocks, a promise that resonated deeply with the farmers and shepherds of Israel. The Canaanite pantheon was rich and complex, a tapestry woven with myths and legends. Baal was often depicted as a strong, virile warrior, battling the forces of chaos and drought. Asherah was revered as the queen of heaven, her symbols, sacred trees and poles, adorning every hilltop shrine. Worship of Baal and Asherah involved rituals that were both alluring and abhorrent. Feasts were held in their honor, filled with music, dancing, and copious amounts of wine. Sexual acts, believed to stimulate the god's fertility, were often performed in the temples, blurring the lines between worship and debauchery. It was easy to see why the Israelites, surrounded by these seductive practices, were drawn to them. The promise of immediate gratification, the allure of the forbidden, and the fear of crop failure proved too strong for many to resist. So they erected altars to Baal alongside the altars of Adonai. They carved Asherah poles and planted them in their fields, hoping to ensure a bountiful harvest. They participated in the Canaanite festivals, abandoning the commandments of their God for the fleeting pleasures of idolatry. And as they turned away from Adonai, they became vulnerable to their enemies. Jabin, king of Hazor, saw their weakness and seized the opportunity. Hazor, a formidable city in the north, controlled the vital trade routes that crisscrossed the region. Its wealth and power were legendary. Archaeological excavations at Tel Hazor, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, have revealed the city's immense scale and prestige during the Bronze-Iron transition. Its sprawling layout, encompassing both an upper and lower city, boasted impressive fortifications, elaborate palaces, and sophisticated water systems. The city served as a major cultural and economic hub, its influence radiating throughout the Levant. Jabin used his power to oppress the Israelites, demanding heavy taxes and seizing their land. He stationed his army throughout the country, ensuring their complete submission. His general, Sisera, was a cruel and ruthless commander, feared by all who crossed his path. Sisera's strength lay in his iron chariots. These were the tanks of the ancient world, formidable machines that could easily crush infantry and decimate enemy formations. The Israelites, with their simple farming tools and rudimentary weapons, were no match for them. For 20 long years, the Israelites suffered under the oppression of Jabin and Sisera. They cried out to Adonai, begging for deliverance. And Adonai, in his mercy, heard their cries. He raised up Deborah, a prophetess and judge, to lead them back to him. Deborah sat beneath the palm, the dust devils dancing around her feet, the weight of her people pressing down on her. Barak stood before her, a strong, handsome warrior, his face etched with a mixture of determination and apprehension. Barak, Deborah said, her voice calm and steady, Adonai, the God of Israel, commands you to go. Take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun and lead them to Mount Tabor. Barak hesitated. If you will go with me, I will go, he replied. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. Deborah sighed inwardly. She understood Barak's reluctance. Facing Sisera and his iron chariots was a daunting prospect, and the presence of a woman, a judge and prophetess, on the battlefield was unprecedented. Very well, Deborah said, I will go with you. But know this, because of the way you are going about this, the honor will not be yours, for Adonai will deliver Sisera into the hand of a woman. Barak nodded, accepting her condition. He knew Deborah's words were prophetic, imbued with the power of Adonai. He also knew that her presence would inspire his troops and give them the courage they needed to face the enemy. The word went out throughout the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun, assemble at Mount Tabor. Slowly but surely the men began to gather. Farmers left their fields, shepherds abandoned their flocks, and artisans laid down their tools. They came armed with swords, spears, and whatever else they could find. They were a ragtag army, poorly equipped and untrained. But they were united by a common purpose, to break the yoke of Jabin and reclaim their freedom. As the men assembled at Mount Tabor, Deborah climbed to the summit, her eyes scanning the horizon. She prayed to Adonai, asking for his guidance and protection. Adonai, God of Israel, she prayed, her voice filled with emotion. You are the God of our fathers, the God who delivered us from slavery in Egypt. You have promised to be with us, to fight for us. Now we beseech you, do not forsake us. Give us the strength to overcome our enemies. Deliver us from the hand of Jabin and Sisera. Show your power to all the nations, that they may know that you are the one true God. As she prayed, she felt a surge of power flow through her. She knew Adonai had heard her prayers. He would not abandon his people. Sisera, meanwhile, had received word of the Israelite gathering at Mount Tabor. He scoffed at the news. What could a handful of farmers and shepherds do against his mighty army and his invincible chariots? He ordered his troops to assemble at the Wadi Kishon, a broad, shallow riverbed that ran along the base of Mount Tabor. He was confident that he could easily crush the Israelite rebellion and teach them a lesson they would never forget. Sisera stood beside his chariot, a magnificent war machine adorned with iron spikes and sharp blades. He was a tall, imposing figure, his face hardened by years of battle. He wore a helmet of polished bronze and carried a shield emblazoned with the symbol of his god, Baal. He surveyed his army with satisfaction. They were the finest warriors in Canaan, disciplined, well-equipped, and utterly loyal to him. He had no doubt that they would easily defeat the Israelites. He raised his hand, signaling his troops to prepare for battle. The chariots rumbled forward, their iron wheels churning up the dust. The infantry followed close behind, their spears gleaming in the sun. As Sisera prepared for battle, Deborah turned to Barak. "Go," she commanded. "This is the day Adonai has given Sisera into your hands. Has not Adonai gone ahead of you?" Barak hesitated for a moment, his eyes fixed on the approaching army. But then he remembered Deborah's words, her unwavering faith in Adonai. He raised his sword and shouted, "Follow me!" The Israelite army surged down the slopes of Mount Tabor, a motley crew of farmers, shepherds, and artisans, armed with whatever weapons they could find. They charged towards the Wadi Kishon, their hearts filled with a mixture of fear and determination. As they reached the riverbed, something unexpected happened. The sky darkened and a torrential rain began to fall. The Wadi Kishon, normally a shallow stream, quickly turned into a raging torrent. Sisera's chariots, his pride and joy, became bogged down in the mud. Their iron wheels sank into the soft earth, rendering them useless. The Israelite army, on the other hand, was unfazed by the rain.
Is with us.
They knew the terrain well. They were light and agile, able to move quickly through the mud and water.
Adonai will deliver them from the hand
attacking the
of
drivers
Jabin.
and the soldiers with their swords and spears. The Canaanite army, caught off guard
Adonai
and
has
hampered by the
chosen
mud,
Barak.
was quickly overwhelmed. Sisera watched in horror as his army was decimated. He realized that he had underestimated the Israelites,
Deborah
and more
and
importantly,
Barak.
he had underestimated their God. He abandoned his chariot and fled on foot, hoping to
We
escape
will
the
not
carnage.
be silenced.
Barak pursued Sisera, leading his army in a relentless chase. The Canaanite soldiers, demoralized
glory
and
of this
disorganized,
victory will not
scattered
go
in
to
all
Barak.
directions. As Barak pursued
glory
Sisera,
will go to
the
a
general
woman.
sought refuge in the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. Heber's clan had maintained a neutral stance between the Israelites and Jabin, offering hospitality to both sides. Sisera, exhausted and
Adonai
desperate,
has brought
believed
you out
he
of
would find
Egypt.
safety in Jael's
Why
tent.
do you do this evil thing?
Jael greeted Sisera with warmth and offered him a place to rest. She covered him with a blanket and gave him a drink of milk, lulling him into a deep sleep. As Sisera slept, Jael pondered her options. She knew that Sisera was a cruel and ruthless man, responsible for the suffering of her people. She also knew that if
you go
Barak
with
captured
me,
him, he would be
I will
executed.
go.
But she also knew that by harboring Sisera, she was betraying her clan's neutrality.
I will
She
go
prayed
with
to
you.
Adonai, asking for
But
guidance.
the glory
As she
will
prayed,
not
she
be
felt
yours.
a surge of courage. She realized that she had a unique
We will not
opportunity to
falter,
deliver her people
for
from the hand of
Adonai
their
is
oppressor.
with us.
Quietly, she took a tent peg and a hammer. She approached Sisera, who was
Adonai,
sleeping soundly.
hear my
With
prayer.
a swift, decisive
Grant me
motion,
wisdom and
she drove the
protection
tent
for
peg
your
through his
people.
temple, pinning him to the ground. Sisera
Adonai
died
has
instantly,
heard the cries
his
of
reign
his
of terror
people,
brought to an abrupt
and the
end.
day of reckoning
Barak,
is
still
at
pursuing
hand.
Sisera, arrived at Jael's tent.
Go,
He asked her if
for
she had seen the
Adonai
general.
has gone ahead of
Jael
you.
led him inside the tent and showed him Sisera's lifeless body, the tent peg protruding
Charge!
from his temple. Barak was stunned. He had expected to find Sisera hiding in the tent, cowering in fear. He had not expected to find him dead.
Adonai has
killed by
delivered
a
them
woman.
into your hand.
He realized that Deborah's prophecy had come true. The glory of this victory would not go to him. The glory would go to a woman. News of Sisera's death spread quickly throughout the land. The Israelites rejoiced. They had been delivered from the hand of their oppressor. Jabin, king of Hazor, was enraged by the news. He vowed to avenge Sisera's death and crush the Israelite rebellion.
Adonai,
But the
give me
Israelites,
strength.
emboldened by their victory,
Help me
were no
understand
longer
what must
afraid.
be done.
They rallied around Deborah and Barak, preparing to defend their freedom. The war between Hazor and Israel dragged on for several years. But the Israelites, with Adonai's
The
help,
Lord has
were able to hold
delivered
their
our
own.
enemies into
Finally,
our
Jabin
hands.
was defeated and killed. Hazor was conquered and destroyed. The Israelites enjoyed a period of peace and prosperity that lasted for 40 years. Deborah continued to serve as a judge, guiding the people in the ways of Adonai. She was remembered as a wise and courageous leader, a woman who had delivered her people from oppression. Her song, sung after the victory, became a testament to Adonai's power and a celebration of the courage of the Israelite people. It recounted the story of the battle, praising the warriors who had fought bravely and condemning those who had failed to come to their aid. It also celebrated the courage of Jael, the woman who had dared to kill Sisera.
Thank you, I am so tired.
Her name was forever etched in the annals of Israel's history as a heroine and a liberator. The palm of Deborah stood tall and proud, a symbol of hope and deliverance for generations to come. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, Adonai would never forsake his people. And it was a testament to the power of faith, courage, and the unwavering spirit of a woman who dared to lead in an age of iron chariots and fear.